Hi, I'm John Mallis. Welcome to this live edition of Connect with Me on the showroom floor at Ventura TV on this Thursday morning. Glad you're here. Today we're talking about crime, a crime spree that lasted for years. A local man who led the life of crime, almost like Bonnie and Clyde to a certain extent, but then he went clean and came clean. That's right. 436-MeTV option 11. If you want to call in and ask our guest any question you want about his life, on the run to a certain extent. Back in just a moment.
Tonight I want to discuss the importance of the television medium to the American people.
Here we are back on the program on a Thursday morning. Glad you're here with us on Connect with Me on MeTV Fresno, because there's a lot to talk about. This new book came out. We'll get to that in just a moment, and our guest. Quick programming note for tomorrow. We have Angeline Corona in, and she will talk about healthy living, clean eating, how to get your spirits up, how to really mend your soul from inside out, my friends. She wants to heal your body inside and out so you look good, you feel good. Angeline has been a guest here before. We'll talk to her about what her plan is. She opened up a new wellness center as well, so it'll be an interesting topic for tomorrow. Then I'm really excited also about Monday's program, because we have Evan Onstad. He's the news anchor over at KC24. He will be my guest. We'll be here to talk about, well, what happened to Scott Pelley of CBS News? He is out, my friends, fired by, I guess, the president of CBS News. I guess heads were rolling there. Scott Pelley, the CBS Evening News anchor since 2011, he is now out, but he becomes a 60 Minutes correspondent full-time. You see how fickle broadcasting is? You're at the top of the heap one day and out the next. That's the way it's been the last 40 years that I've seen in broadcasting, my friends. We'll talk about the unstable environment that exists and always has existed in the world of broadcasting and the media. For now, you're watching us on a very stable program. We've been here for 5 years, so not going anywhere anytime soon. At least I haven't heard. Now, if you hear any rumor, let me know. Comcast Channel 375, as usual, Monday through Friday, 10 to 11 o'clock in the morning. It's a call-in program. If you don't have Comcast cable, it's 13.1, 43.6 over-the-air broadcast with one of those digital television antennas. And then the replay comes up at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, 13.6 YouTube. 8 o'clock tonight, 4.6 Biz TV. You can have the NBA Finals on one set and the replay of this program on another. And of course, YouTube, you can watch these programs day and night anytime you want. All right, the crime spree that we're talking about it took place many years ago, many decades ago, before I was born, my friends. Our guest today has been around a long time. He grew up in the area of Selma, although he was born in Arkansas. He wrote a book about his life of crime. I want to put that book up now on the screen so you can look at it. Joe Walker on the Long Road Home is the name of the book. I'll tell you what, he spent a lot of time in prison, 14 years in all, roughly 5 years at Leavenworth in Arkansas, and then Arkansas State Prison for another 5. His first robbery, from what I read the book almost twice over, and his first robbery took place near the city of Denver, Colorado, when he robbed a jewelry store. From that point on, oh my goodness. Leavenworth is really a hardcore prison. It's been around more than 100 years in the state of Arkansas. In fact, it was the first federal prison in this country. And our guest today, Joe Walker, spent nearly 5 years in that prison. Here's a little history on Leavenworth in Arkansas.
The United States Penitentiary, Leavenworth. It's an awe-inspiring sight rising from the Kansas plains. A grand architectural design befitting its status as America's first federal penitentiary. Throughout its century-long history, Leavenworth has recorded compelling stories of escape and violence, rehabilitation and reform. But what sets this prison apart are the people who have been confined behind these walls. A diverse cross-section, from cowboys to politicians, from union leaders to serial killers. There were Mexican revolutionaries who rode with Pancho Villa, and infamous gangsters like Machine Gun Kelly, Frank Nitti, and Bugs Moran. And it was at Leavenworth, not Alcatraz, where the legendary Birdman housed his aviary. Newly opened prison files and powerful first-person accounts have allowed us an unprecedented glimpse inside the walls of Leavenworth Penitentiary.
Live in our studio now is the one and only Joe Walker. He led a life of crime for many years. And by the way, just a small correction there, because Joe Walker was born in Arkansas, raised in the city of Selma, just outside of Fresno here. I got a little bit confused. He spent nearly 5 years in Leavenworth federal prison.
5 years and 4 months.
5 years and 4 months in Leavenworth. See, I'm a little confused today, but no, I'm not really. Leavenworth is located in the state of Kansas, and he spent another 5 in Arkansas, the state prison there. We'll talk about his life of crime. 436-ME-TV, option 11. This is the book right here. It's called Joe Walker, On the Long Road Home. Let's put up the book cover one more time on the screen before we go to break, just so you get a good look at it. And we'll tell you where you can buy it. You probably can get it on Amazon. It really is an easy read. Like I said, I read the thing twice, no time at all. 436-ME-TV, option 11, back in just a moment.
Have you or a loved one recently been arrested for a serious crime?
Is your professional reputation at risk?
Aggressive representation from a qualified defense attorney can help you avoid conviction and keep your reputation untarnished.
Hi, I'm Charles McGill, and I'll fight for your rights. With extensive experience in successfully defending against a wide range of criminal offenses and high-profile cases, you can rest assured that you'll get the fair trial you deserve from McGill Guzman McGill. Call us at 559-255-3425 or visit us online at toplawyersfresno.com.
Not sure what you're watching? Want to see what's coming up next? Or just want to browse what's on without the hassle of flipping channels? Your wish has come true. Now you can view schedules for all the digital TV channels available in the Central Valley. Get local weather updates and forecasts, and listen to nationally syndicated Biz Talk Radio, all on KVHF 4.1. Rescan your TV now, then tune in to Digital Channel 4.1 to start enjoying the all-new TV Guide.
If you read one book this year, make it Joe Walker, On the Long Road Home. From humble beginnings in Selma, California to lockdown at Leavenworth Prison, follow Joe as he zigzags across the country on an amazing American crime spree, including breaking out of the Fresno County Jail. 19 documented arrests, 30 armed robberies, and 14 years in prison finally led to a road to salvation and success. This book will take you by the hand and lead you to the right way. Joe Walker, On the Long Road Home, available at Amazon.com, Barnes & Nobles, and wherever fine books are sold.
All right, so you can buy the book at Barnes & Noble, and here it is right here, and we have an extra copy here. Hey, Joe, how are you this morning? Good morning.
I'm doing great.
Good, good.
Glad to be here. I'm the most blessed man that I know of.
Yeah.
God getting me all through all that went on in my life, and then I wind up marrying my wonderful wife, and we've been married 35 years and 4 more days.
She straightened you out, did she?
No, I was straightened out before.
Oh, okay.
I
But
met
she
her at-
kept. But
I
she
met her at church.
she kept you straight, though, right?
She kept me straight, yes.
How'd she do that?
Well, no, God really did it, but He gave me a wonderful wife.
Right. But how did your wife help you?
Well, I can't name all the ways she's helped me.
Well, just name a few.
Well, she's been a good wife. I know a lot of marriages have a lot of trouble nowadays, and but we've only had one argument in 35 years of marriage, and that didn't amount to nothing.
Okay, I got a
Really?
call here. Good morning, caller. You're on the air with Joe Walker, the one and only. Go ahead, sir.
Hey, Joe, I want to ask you, oh man, I can ask you all day, but how did you survive in prisons? They're not prisons that, like city prisons, jails. They're the hardcore convicts and whatnot. How did you survive? What kept you going when you don't have to serve 10, 12, 14 years? And what made you, at a young age, do robberies and whatnot? Was it a kick or just to do things on your own? Because nowadays these young kids think that robbery and this and that is a cool thing, gangbangers and all that. I wish they would have gone into a penitentiary where you went and learned that it's not an easy life. You got the long road coming back, and I tell you, I can't say much because I don't know you personally, but I'm going to tell you, I know by just looking at you, life wasn't easy. But I would wish that some of these gangbangers who think they're cool and whatnot to initiate, how would you turn them around to let them know that the crime is not as easy as it looks? Thank you, Joe.
Thank you very much. That's a great call. So a couple of questions from our caller today, and that is our first call. How did you survive in prison or jail? You went to both. You were state prison, federal prison, here at the local jail here in Fresno for like almost a year, California Youth Authority. How did you survive? And the second part of that question is, how would you advise young kids today if you were to tell them, hey, listen, it's not worth doing the time. Just don't do the crime.
It's not worth doing the crime, no. It's, and I survived. I feel that I had God's protection in a lot of things, but my older brother had already been in prison before, and of course they had us separated. They had him in the county jail and me in the city. And
What year was that?
1952.
Mm-hmm.
And when they first arrested me, they put me in a dark cell for 14 days, nights, no blanket, no mattress. They didn't book me in.
Total darkness. You couldn't see anything. You couldn't even see the hand in front of your face, right? That's what you said in the book.
Right. And that was illegal.
How did you survive that for 14 days? Because you were eating one sandwich a day with one glass of water.
Well, you just, that's enough to keep you alive.
Barely. One sandwich a day for 14 days and one
Two
glass of water.
slices of bread and one thin slice of bologna.
Right, and that was here in the city of Fresno.
Right here in the Fresno County Jail.
Okay, and your brother was over in the city jail.
Right.
All right, so bologna sandwich, huh? Once a day? All right, and you eventually, well...
And I wasn't charged with a crime at that time for those 14 days.
No, but you were picked up because you were driving from Sacramento, I believe, to Selma, and they stopped you, and they found shells and also a gun in your car.
Yes.
But you weren't charged with anything.
Not at that time, no.
Okay.
But they would take me out about every third day and question me.
About what?
They said, well, we've got 40-something burglaries on our books here that needs to be solved. And we think you can help us clear up some of them.
Mm-hmm.
No, I can't. So they put me back in the cell.
They're trying to make you talk.
Trying to make me talk, which was illegal.
No attorney.
No attorney.
No phone call.
No phone call. and they did the same thing to this guy named Miranda over in Arizona in the 60s.
Yeah.
And he had a good lawyer.
Okay.
And his lawyer took it all the way to the Supreme Court.
Wow.
And it's in the Constitution.
Yeah.
You have a right
Yeah,
to
I
a
know.
lawyer. You know.
But didn't your father intervene, and then he got an attorney, and they came down and saw you?
Well, yeah, and how that come about, this trustee that was bringing me my cup of water and sandwich, he whispered to me, and the guard would be up at the end of the hall racking that solid steel door.
Mm-hmm.
And about 3 foot in was a bar door.
Yeah.
And he would step in there and hand me the water and the sandwich. And he whispered, "I'm getting out in the morning. Is there anyone I can call for you?"
Yeah.
And I said, "Yeah, I'll call my father and Selma." And he did. Now, how long would they have kept me there that way if he had not have called my father?
Yeah.
You know, for a month or
So you had committed no crime, but you were found with a gun and some shells in the car.
I had committed a crime, but I wasn't charged with it at that
What
time.
crime had you committed at that time?
A burglary, where
burglary.
I stole the rifle.
Right. And you opened up the glove and they found the shells in there,
Yeah.
and then they found the gun.
He wanted to see the restoration on the car. I opened up the glove compartment to get the restoration, and he saw that box of shells.
The
in
registration to the car. Yeah.
there. Yeah.
So the caller asked the question about how you survived in jail, in prison, all those years. How did you survive? Because from what I read in the book, you were a little bit of a fighter in prison. You took on some bad dudes in there.
Well, you had to fight.
You do?
Yeah.
To survive, huh?
If somebody gets in you, before they sentenced my brother, and he went back to San Quentin. He was 24 at the time, and I was 20.
Yeah.
And the lawyer got us together before they were going to take him to San Quentin and me to Chino to the guidance center.
Yeah.
And he said, "The first guy that messes with you," he said, "mind your own business, but the first guy that messes with you, take care of him and do a good job on it."
And what if you couldn't take care of him?
Well, there's ways. There's ways.
Like what?
There's homemade knives.
Yeah.
You get lighter fluid for your.
Set his bed on fire?
Well, you can get a cup full of lighter fluid and throw on anybody, and throw a cigarette on them, and they're burned up.
Yeah.
That happened to one guy in Leavenworth that was in protective custody, and they never did get the guy that done it.
Yeah. He just burned to death, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he was in a section where supposedly they couldn't get to him, but somehow they got to him and threw lighter fluid on him, and he burned up.
Yeah, and they couldn't stop it. But you survived by fighting.
Well,
You survived by defending yourself against the first attacker to send a message to the other inmates?
right.
Don't mess with that guy because he can fight.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Right.
Okay, you took care of business?
Yeah.
You did? How?
Well, I whooped him a little bit just with my fists, and
Punched him? Punched him out?
yeah.
You knock him out?
No, I didn't knock him from out, but he had enough, and he quit.
How old were you at that time?
19. Or, yeah.
All right.
I might have just turned 20.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, 436 Me TV option 11. Here's the book. If you want to get it, it's called Joe Walker on the Long Road Home, and it's only a couple hundred pages long, and really a very easy time to read this book. 436 Me TV option 11. Back with our program in just a moment.
Take a look at this. Let's play.
This is too hip for you. I'll slow down.
Let's play.
Watch all your favorite classic game shows on Buzzer TV, KBBC Digital Channel 13.7.
Have you or a loved one recently been arrested for a serious crime?
Is your professional reputation at risk?
Aggressive representation from a qualified defense attorney can help you avoid conviction and keep your reputation untarnished.
Hi, I'm Charles McGill, and I'll fight for your rights. With extensive experience in successfully defending against a wide range of criminal offenses and high-profile cases, you can rest assured that you'll get the fair trial you deserve from McGill Guzman McGill. Call us at 559-255-3425 or visit us online at toplawyersfresno.com.
The story of Leavenworth Penitentiary begins in the 1870s, when the United States Army was looking to replace its antiquated system of guardhouses and stockades.
In 1871, the Judge Advocate of the Department of the East looked at the situation of the post guardhouses and stockades and concluded that there was no uniformity, there was no systematic care of prisoners, there was no classification of prisoners, murderers were incarcerated with petty thieves. As a result of their report, it was decided to create a central military prison.
The site chosen for the new institution was Fort Leavenworth, Kansas, once a frontier outpost guarding the way west. The prison opened in 1874, and before long, over 400 prisoners were in confinement. The institution quickly became a model prison with the stated goal of reformation, not humiliation. Many inmates were employed building new prison facilities, while others were put to work in its thriving factories. During this time, there were no federal prisons for civilian offenders. There was simply no need, as there were few federal laws to be broken. The federal government paid state facilities to house their few inmates. However, by the 1880s, the number of federal offenders was growing, and the state prisons were becoming overcrowded. It was also found that inmate labor was being abused.
A lot of the states have begun to lease inmates out to private corporations for use as very cheap labor. And in the southern states, this was particularly important as virtually as a replacement for slavery.
So a little bit of history on Leavenworth Federal Prison in the state of Kansas, I should say. And, you know, our guest today, Joe Walker, spent some time there, near about almost 5.5 years. A very tough prison. How'd you survive that? What were you in there for? Armed robbery, I know, but...
Well, yeah, I robbed the First National Bank in Fort Smith, Arkansas.
Right.
I had a jury trial. I got found guilty. My lawyer appealed it. I got a reversal. Got out on appeal bond. I got, the paper said $44,225 out of the bank robbery. And she gave the lawyer $10,000. And she came to see me one time while I was in Leavenworth and told me somebody stole the rest of the money, which I knew was a lie. This was my first wife. And then after I got a reversal and remanded back for a new trial, a friend of mine from Arlington Heights, a suburb of Chicago, come down and give my lawyer the money for my bond. And at the time, he was on escape from the Arkansas prison.
Yeah.
And he come into jail all dressed up in a suit, and he said, "I'm Mr. Gallman's assistant, and I need to talk to Joe." And they said, "Oh, yeah, come right on in." And so he come in, and he said, "You're going for a bond reduction from $50,000. We're going to try to get it down to $20,000. But either way," he said, "I've got the money. You're getting out tomorrow." And so he wrote they did knock it down to $20,000. He gave my lawyer the money, and my lawyer just wrote up a check for 10% of the bond in case I didn't show up for court. Whenever I showed up for court, then he gets it back, you know. if you go through a bail bondman, they charge you sometimes anywhere from 10 to 20% that you don't get back.
Well, let me ask you, what kind of characters did you run into there in Leavenworth? Did you run into any? There's an email question. If they want to know if you ran into any mafioso type characters in there in Leavenworth.
There was some of them there, but
and they were affiliated with who specifically? Do you know?
Well, this friend of mine that come and got me out on bond, later he wound up there in Leavenworth at the same time I was there.
Okay.
and he knew the boss of the Kansas City Mafia.
He did, huh?
And he told me, he said, when you get out, you can go to work for him. All you'll have to do is just walk around as a bodyguard and carry your gun. And he said, the law's not going to give you any problems. But I had been already studying the Bible and living by it by that time.
What year was that?
That was probably in 77.
Okay. So by then you were already on the straight and narrow or headed in that direction?
I became a member of the Church of God in January of 78. But I had been taking a Bible correspondence course and reading the Bible since 75.
So that's the reason you didn't join up with the mafia, the head of the Kansas City. Well, what's the reason then?
I wouldn't have joined up with them anyway.
Because?
I'm more of a loner type guy.
You didn't want to be a bodyguard for the Kansas City chief, huh?
No.
Okay. All right. Got a phone call here. Good morning, caller. You're on the air with Joe Walker. The book is called Joe Walker on the Long Road Back Home, and on the long road home. Go ahead. You're on the air.
Joe, let me ask you a quick question. The guards that were working in the prisons, yourself, did you ever see them look the other way? Let's say maybe he didn't like one of the prisoners and he might order them to maybe beat up one of the prisoners just because of hate, and he would just look the other way. And is it true that a lot of the guards do the same thing? There had to be something like that. But I just can't see myself in there unless, I was going to get beaten up or whatever they're going to do. But did you ever see that as far as guards looking the other way? That's really what I want to know. Thank you.
Well, every prison is different. The Arkansas prison, all the guards are trustee convicts. They're convicts that are down there serving time, and they make trustees out of them, and they're the ones that hold the guns. They're the ones that can go in and beat the hell out of whoever they want to, and they can get by with it. Up in Leavenworth, it's like an old folks' rest home compared to Arkansas. You can work in the factories, or they have the furniture factory and a brush factory and a shoe factory there. Now, I read a book one time where this lady said that prisoners should be made to work and pay back society for their crimes. Well, I've been in 3 different prisons, and I always worked. In California, we made mattresses. I worked in the mattress factory for all the hospitals, county hospitals, all the county jails, all the jails, all the prisons around the state of California. In Arkansas, we worked 6 days a week from sunup to sundown, harvesting crops. In Leavenworth, we made all the furniture for all the government offices around the world. And on the second floor, they made the shoes for all the military, Army, Navy, Marines, every phase of the military, their shoes are made right there in Leavenworth. And the brushes, the paint brushes and counter dusters, and they use a lot of them painting their ships and buildings and everything. They're all made right there. In Atlanta, Georgia, they make all the uniforms for the military. All branches of the military are made in Atlanta, Georgia Federal Prison. And so that's saving the government millions, billions of dollars versus having them made on the factories on the open market.
Quickly, Leavenworth was tougher than the state prison in Arkansas, or the other way around?
The other way around.
Arkansas was tougher?
Oh, yeah. You worked 6 days a week from sun up to sundown. You didn't get paid a nickel for it. They had the blood bank there. You could donate blood once a week. You weren't donating blood, but they would take 2 pints out of you and run it on this centrifugal machine and separate the blood from the plasma. And they would sell the plasma and put saline water back in the blood and run that back in your system.
Yeah.
And you could do that every week.
Yeah.
They had 900 weekly bleeders.
Mm-hmm.
And the doctor that operated on my arm twice while I was there, getting glass out of my arm from a car wreck, he told me they were selling it for $25 a pint.
Yeah.
And they were paying the inmates $6 a pint. And a dollar of it went into the inmate welfare fund, and we got $5 of it.
Yeah.
So they were making $19 a pint.
All right.
Off of 900 weekly bleeders.
Caller, you're on the air with Joe Walker. Go ahead.
Yes, I have a question. I need to know if Joe went to the shower, did he ever drop the soap?
Couldn't understand that question. What? I didn't get it. Didn't get that question. Could not understand it. 436-MeTV, option 11. Hey, if you want to call in on the program today, we're talking about the life of crime Joe Walker had many moons ago, way back when, before I was born. But the book now, he wants to try to sell this book, Joe Walker on the Long Road Home. Here it is right here. We'll put up the book again up on the screen. You can buy it at Barnes & Noble and a few other places here. Go ahead and put it up. There it is, and we'll go to break. 436-MeTV, option 11. Back in just a moment.
The Justice Network is here. If you haven't tuned in, you're missing a great lineup of gripping stories of real crime, plus an unprecedented effort by viewers like you to play an active role in making your community safer. You can help support law enforcement by providing information that may lead to the apprehension of dangerous criminals or find a missing child. Great shows and your chance to fight crime, only on the Justice Network.
Have you or a loved one recently been arrested for a serious crime?
Is your professional reputation at risk?
Aggressive representation from a qualified defense attorney can help you avoid conviction and keep your reputation untarnished.
Hi, I'm Charles McGill, and I'll fight for your rights. With extensive experience in successfully defending against a wide range of criminal offenses and high-profile cases, you can rest assured that you'll get the fair trial you deserve from McGill Guzman McGill. Call us at 559-255-3425 or visit us online at toplawyersfresno.com.
Police cars carried a massive armory of weapons. They prepared an ambush for the outlaws. This reconstruction of the ambush was made only a few days later.
For 3 days and nights, these officers lay in wait on this road, but Bonnie and Clyde were wary.
On the 23rd of May, the officers stopped Henry Methvin's father as he drove up the road. He was handcuffed to a tree and his truck left by the roadside as a decoy. On the third day, a tan-colored Ford V8 turned into the road.
It looks like a car, fellas.
The police recognized Clyde as the driver.
That's him for sure, I'll guarantee you. Get ready now.
As Clyde saw Methvin's truck, he slowed down. The police prepared to open fire.
Him, fellas. If he reaches for it, let him have it. Look down.
The car stopped, riddled with bullets. This film, taken just a few minutes after the shooting, is not a reconstruction.
Here is Clyde Barrow and Bonnie Parker, who died as they lived, by the gun. Bonnie is seen leaning against Clyde. Clyde was a master gunman. Seldom did anyone ever live when Clyde got the first shot.
There were a pistol and a shotgun ready on the floor of their car. But the ambush had taken the couple by surprise. Within hours, sightseers were traveling to the ambush site. A procession of more than 50 cars escorted the shattered Ford to the police pound. Here, it was put on show.
All right, a lot of historic figures taking part in crime across the country back in the 30s and 40s, and of course Bonnie and Clyde. That would be Bonnie Parker and Clyde Barrow. Just terrorized the central part of this country during the Great Depression, robbing people, robbing banks, killing people. They killed up to 9 officers. You also had guys like John Dillinger. You also had guys like Pretty Boy Floyd. When you grew up in Selma here picking grapes with your family, your mother and your father, did you ever hear about these other gangsters? Did you ever think about having that type of life?
Well, not at that age. I heard about them later, yeah.
Yeah, you heard about them. Did they influence you at all in any way?
No.
They never did?
No.
You could care less about them at that time?
Well, I didn't hear about them till I was already into it.
Yeah.
You know.
So you weren't influenced before you got into it?
No.
Okay, but
No.
you knew about them?
Yeah, well, no, I didn't know about them until I was grown
Yeah.
and saw movies about them.
And what'd you think?
Well, hey, it just happens. Life is full of surprises. But you know, nowadays we've got to have law enforcement. I believe in law enforcement. We've got to have it. But there's nothing, I've said before, there's nothing worse than a corrupt cop, and there's nothing better than a good cop. And after I retired, we moved back to Tulsa. And Tulsa Police Department run the drug trade there. And they brought in a federal prosecutor from Arkansas and the FBI from Arkansas undercover to investigate that. And they brought in a federal judge from Albuquerque, New Mexico to try the trial.
Mm-hmm.
And they had 10 police officers charged with various crimes. Corrupt police officers. And there was only 2 of them convicted. And they talked to one of the jurors after the trial was over. And she said, well, we have to live in this town. Our kids go to school with their kids, you know, and we couldn't afford to find them guilty.
All right, a lot more to get to here. Let me just say this. The caller that called in before, let me get to that question first, because he was talking about what happens in prison. Sometimes inmates rape other inmates. Were you ever worried about that? I think the caller asked, like, when you were in the shower, were you ever worried about dropping your soap?
No, I never worried about anything like that. In the youth authority, I just never seen it.
Yeah.
If it happened,
Even in prison,
it was rarely.
you never saw it in prison, huh?
So, but when I was in the Arkansas prison, I had kind of a reputation, might say, before I ever got there. And my brother was already there serving time and had been there for about 2.5 years.
So you had a reputation as being what?
Don't mess with this guy.
Okay.
Because if you do, you either got to kill him or don't mess with him.
Yeah.
Because if he lives through it, he's going to be back at you.
Yeah. So that's the reputation you had. But did you ever see anybody get raped in there, in any of those
No,
prisons?
no.
Never that. Okay, a couple of more things we got to get to here. This is the book right here. All right, the next caller that calls in, 436-MeTV option 11, will get a free copy of this book. We'll leave it here at Ventura TV for you. It's The Life and Crime of Joe Walker on the Long Road Home. So what I want to get to is, okay, several facts I want to bleep out here. You grew up in Selma. You picked grapes with your family. You went to Roosevelt School, did you?
Yes.
Okay.
Not here in Fresno.
Right.
There's a Roosevelt School on Floral Avenue.
Right.
There in Selma.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Your dad got sick. He was also a gambler, as I understand
Yes,
it.
he got hooked on gambling.
And your brother got into crime before you did.
Yes.
Into the life of crime. There was also an incident when you wanted to buy your mom some furniture. And you,
when
you
I was
couldn't afford it.
16.
Yeah, when you were 16 years old, you couldn't afford it. You actually bargained with the furniture dealer and got him down to the price that you wanted. But is it after that incident that things started going bad?
Well, I was
Because you wanted to buy your own house. You wanted to buy your own farm, as I understand it. That never happened.
I was 16 years old the summer I bought her the furniture.
Okay.
And I saved up $900 before the summer was over.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I spent about $600
Hang on, caller.
on my mother's furniture.
But was it right after that 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 your life started taking a turn?
No, it was about 4 years later.
About 4 years later, because in between that 4 years, what happened? Your brother got in trouble. Your mom and dad, I think they sold the house, right? Or the farm.
Yeah, they sold the house to, and my dad went and paid a lawyer. I don't know exactly how much.
But he gambled some of that money away.
He gambled most of the money away.
Uh-huh.
And
so at what point did you make a turn for the worst, and why?
I don't know. Well, my brother got out of prison.
He was where, in San Quentin or Chino?
In Chino at that time. He went to San Quentin. In the last 6 months, they sent him to Chino.
Okay. And when your brother got out, is that when did he become an influence on you to a certain extent?
Well, yeah, he did, I guess. He got out and he had a job for Borden Milk Company.
Right.
In Fresno.
He was working the overnight shift.
Yeah.
I believe.
Loading the trucks.
Yeah.
And the guys would come in and make their deliveries. But him and the crew would, I don't know how many, would load up the trucks, and they'd have a list that went in each truck.
Okay.
And then him and his wife got in an argument about something. He'd got married after he got out of prison.
Yeah.
And
that marriage didn't last long, did it?
No. He took off. They got in an argument about something, I don't know what.
Okay.
And
so was it about that same time that you got hooked up with your brother and made the turn there?
Well, he left the state. I had a 48 Ford I was making payments on. And when he got out, I give him that car and let him take over the payments. Well, when he took off, he wrecked it, totaled it out down in Texas. And I went back there and he was broke, and I didn't have much money, and then we went and
started robbing. And your first robbery was a liquor store just north of Denver.
Well,
I forgot what year that was. Your first big one.
He wasn't with me.
Okay.
He was.
But I'm talking about your first.
Yeah, that was my first.
Yeah. What year was that? Do you remember?
Well, in the 50s, about 56, I think.
Okay. Did you elevate from there? Did you graduate into robbing banks and all of that?
I only robbed one bank.
Okay. What were most of your robberies?
Supermarkets.
Okay. Why supermarkets? Easy hit, easy target?
Yeah, and to tell the truth, I don't think they mind getting robbed.
Why is that?
Because we would read the papers and listen to it on the news, and they always said they lost more money than what they did.
So you're talking about the insurance money.
The insurance.
You mentioned that in the book.
Yeah, they would get more insurance money than what they lost in the robbery.
Yeah.
But
how did you know that for a fact, though? How did you know?
Well, I'd read in the paper what they said they lost.
Yeah.
And I knew how much we got, but the paper said we got a lot more than what we actually got.
Yeah, and so they were reporting that figure to the insurance company.
Right.
I remember reading that in the book, but let me ask you something. What did it feel like after the first time you did it, the liquor store? Or, you know, I mean, the first one in Denver, did it feel like, wow, that felt good, I want to do that again?
No, I was scared to death.
You were? Did you ever come close to shooting anybody?
Well, I shot that guy. But
shooting and killing someone?
No, I never killed no one.
Right, but did you come close?
Well, if it had come down to having a shootout with the cops or getting arrested, I would have been shooting it out.
Yeah.
But
that's the kind of guy you were, huh?
The way it happened, I told Bill, I said, we're not going to try to outrun them. And if they get after us, we're going to outshoot them. And I had a .357 Magnum, and we had 4 or 5 pistols. I had a .357 Magnum with a 6-inch barrel with armor-piercing ammunition. You could shoot through a motor block. It would go from through the motor block and out the rear end of the car. It was armor-piercing. Well, when we got arrested, we had a tail light on the right-hand side that was burned out. And we were coming back to California after being off on one of our sprees. And the highway patrol pulled in us down on the south end of Selma and throwed the red light on us. And I grabbed my .357 Magnum and slid Bill his .38. And Bill said, "No, I don't think it'll be anything, just a ticket for that tail light being burned out."
Sure.
And
sure.
I said, "Oh, okay." So I put the guns under the seat. We stepped out on each side, and when we stepped out, the state troopers had their guns, their front doors open and windows rolled down, and they were behind their door with their rifles pointing at us, and said, "Step away from the car with your hands up." And within minutes, there was FBI, the Selma police, and Highway Patrol. They must have been 10 or 12, 15.
But the guy at the liquor store, the first one near Denver there, you shot him, huh?
Well,
because he was, from what I read, he was coming at you. He kept coming at you.
Yeah, and that was crazy. I got the money out of the cash register, and I knew that they probably had some more in a box or under the counter or somewhere.
Right.
And I took him in the back room, and I had duct tape, and I had him put his hand behind his back.
Right.
and taped his hands. I had it wrapped around his wrist.
Mm-hmm.
And he swung around with his elbow and hit my gun.
Oh, and it went off.
And it accidentally went off and shot him up and just grazed his shoulder.
Yeah, but then you ended up shooting him in the leg, didn't
Well,
you?
yeah, then that scared me. And here I'm a 25-year-old kid.
Yeah.
And I run to get out the front door. And he run after me with his hands still taped behind his back, screaming.
Yeah.
And I shot in the floor in the front of him, and he wouldn't stop.
Yeah.
And I raised it up, and I shot him in the leg, and he still didn't stop.
But he didn't die. He lived through it.
Yeah.
You found out later he made it.
I listened to the news.
Yeah, you listened to the news and found out. Okay, let's get this caller here quickly before I go to some next questions here. All right, caller, you're on the air with Joe Walker. I think you've called before, but would you like a copy of Joe's book?
You know what? If someone else calls, go ahead and pass that on to them, okay?
Quickly, though, because I'm so
let me
short on
get
time.
another question to Joe real quick. After you got out of prison, did it make you a better man? I believe it did, because you've been married with your wife for over some 45 years. So I want to know, did it make you a better man after you went to prison? You went through everything that you went through. That's really my question, because
all right,
you
thank
must have changed your life around.
Thank
that's
you.
really what I know. Thank you.
Did that make you a better man, what you went through?
No, I can't say that. In 1975, I was waiting to go to a retrial on the bank robbery and waiting to go to trial on 2 armed robberies in Little Rock, supermarket robberies. And the federal marshals thought that I might get outside help to try to escape.
Okay.
And so they were moving me around from jail to jail
Hang
to
on,
jail.
caller.
And they
Yeah.
took me down to El Dorado down in southern Arkansas, where I had no charges.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew something was wrong then. And then they kept taking me around. They took me to Hot Springs jail for a day or two, and then North Little Rock and Carlisle and Lone Oak and back to El Dorado. And,
Right.
so if I had any outside help, they never would know where I was at.
Let me ask you a couple. Hang on, caller. I'll get to you in a minute here. I got a couple of questions here quickly because we're short on time here now, Joe. Here's an email question. Did you come over here to California during the time when Oklahoma and Arkansas were they were both Dust Bowls?
Yes.
Okay, that's the answer to that
Well,
question.
right after that.
Right. Is that why you moved to California, pretty much?
Well, World War II started, and
Okay.
That's when a lot of people from that area, Oklahoma, Texas, and Arkansas, was migrating to California.
And did you obviously you worked grapes here? You rolled the grapes in Selma. Did you pick other fruit, and did you pick cotton as well?
Oh yeah, pick cotton after the grapes was over. Pick cotton, pick
Okay.
peaches.
All sorts of things. Okay, here's another little nugget here, because I got to get to 2 more nuggets before I get to this call here. You stole a fire truck?
Yeah.
When you were 20 years old, you stole a fire truck near North Fork, right here in the Central Valley. Let me read this out of the paper. This is out of the newspaper. I don't know what year that was, because it doesn't have a date here. A $10,000 fire truck was stolen by you, apparently. J.D. Raftery, the fire prevention specialist for the Fresno headquarters of the Forestry Agency, said Joseph Walker, 20 years of age, escaped from the California Youth Authority near Corsgold, Madera County, and is being held in the Fresno County Jail as a suspect in that theft. Raftery said a quantity of groceries, blankets, butcher knives, and other kitchen equipment was also taken from the fire station, which is about 6 miles west of North Fork, Madera County. It was all recovered with the truck. Joe Walker, the suspect. Do you remember that?
Yes.
And why did you take a fire truck of all things?
Me and another guy run off together. His
Okay.
name was Thornton.
All right.
And he knew where the fire truck was at. I didn't. I was working as maintenance in the camp.
Uh-huh.
And but he was with the crew going out and cutting fire trails and
All right.
And he knew where the fire truck was at. And we walked for 24 hours from the camp where we was at to get over there where the fire truck was at.
Okay.
And they had the battery out of it. We had to put the battery back in. They had groceries, and we loaded up the truck.
I got to ask you some other quick things. You also broke out of the Fresno County Jail. What year?
That was in '64, October of '64.
And did they caught you and brought you back?
No, I got caught.
How did you break out of the jail to begin with? Can you tell it in like just a few seconds?
There was two guys that had been working on getting out when I got arrested, and they put me in there. And they were in the third cell down, and they put me in the first cell. But
Okay.
they let you out in the day room to eat your meals, you know. And they asked me, "What are you in here for?" And I said, "Well, I got some charges in Arkansas, Alabama, and Louisiana and stuff." And he said, "Would you like to get out of here?" I said, "What, are you joking?" "I'm sure I want to get out of here."
Yeah.
And so they had a guy in their cell trade places with me, and he went up to one cell. Well, they come through and they count. They don't take the names of
Yeah.
people in there. They just count how many. So the count was right. And I got arrested on October the 1st, and they had already been working on it. And October the 24th, we got out. We
Okay.
broke out.
And but quickly, within 10 seconds, how'd you break out?
Well, there was a long light, fluorescent light, up in the concrete wall over the bars to the cell.
Okay.
And we broke that bar,
Huh.
bored it in two, and it had a roller bar inside that round bar, about that big around, and pried it out.
Okay.
And when we did, part of the angle iron around the light, we got it too, and
All right.
and we got out in the hallway and took that, and the other guy did, and broke those glass blocks out.
Wow. Okay. Here's another email question. That's an interesting story. That's amazing. Do you remember the moment you turned to Christ, and why did you turn to the Lord? And we only have a minute left, otherwise we'll be cut off. So quickly.
Well, out of 20 different jails I was in, there was a Bible laying there in the jail in El Dorado, and I don't know why, but one day I picked it up and started reading it, and I told God I'm going to read it and live by it the best I can understand it.
Okay.
And that was in January 1975, and
Okay.
I've been reading it ever since.
And that's what turned your life around. And then you met your wife, and you met her in church, and the rest is history. Joe, I'm out of time. I got to go or I'll get cut off. But good
Thank
to
you
see
very
you.
much.
Hey, thank you. Do you do speaking engagements with youth?
No.
No. Okay. We'll talk to you again. You'll come back on the show. The book is right here, Joe Walker on the Long Road Home. And we'll see you tomorrow with Angelina Corona, talking about healthy eating and clean living, my friends. Talk about clean. Hey, you're clean. All right. See you tomorrow here on Connect with Me.
Tonight I want to discuss the importance of the television medium to the American people.
Have you or a loved one recently been arrested for a serious crime?
Is your professional reputation at risk?
Aggressive representation from a qualified defense attorney can help you avoid conviction and keep your reputation untarnished.
Hi, I'm Charles McGill, and I'll fight for your rights. With extensive experience in successfully defending against a wide range of criminal offenses and high-profile cases, you can rest assured that you'll get the fair trial you deserve from McGill, Guzman McGill. Call us at 559-255-3425 or visit us online at toplawyersfresno.com.
If you have a need to promote your business or event, please consider MeTV Fresno for your next campaign. MeTV reaches over 100,000 of your potential customers in the Fresno area every single week. Plus, you can rest assured that your commercial is running in a